car. Just get an update. Our Pajero is now completely stripped. See how filthy this dirt, that rubbish in there. I've stripped all the interior tinting off, the old stuff, and I've had the back windows out and I've taken them in so they can tint them, and they've been back in and then resealed in, so they're done. So I'm just going to take the car in and get the rest of the windows re-tinted when it's done. Have a look, all this rubbish, not very good at all, filthy. Completely stripped out. Give all the doors a wash. All new door handles are on because the driver's side one broke, so turns out the ones original were plastic. I've got all 4 new steel ones in. The mirrors have been repaired and switch repaired and working. Windows have been repaired and switches and everything working. New door seals on the outside. I've even gone around in these corners here with a little black elastic, so that it seals up properly. Everything works perfectly as it should from factory. Got the guard off because the guy I got it off had taken the guard off to put another aerial in because the mast was broken on the original. Of course, I've got the expensive aerial. To replace it's $450. I'm going to try and find one from a wreck because it's possibly got a broken mast. Masts are only $50–60 to replace a mast and rope. Not a problem. Yeah, driver's mirror doesn't rattle and anything now. It's all working perfectly and repaired, and all the door seals. I have had the dash panel out, completely stripped and cleaned. Looks like new. Of course, I haven't done the rest of the dash yet. You can see how filthy it is. All that muck and everything in there. Taking everything out except that because of the cables. Too difficult to undo, so I'll leave that in there. I'll just move it about to clean everything up underneath. It's not too difficult at all to do all that. So that's what I'll do. I'll just put that back in there just to keep it out of the way. Just turn it in there. You see a lot of mess. And look, underneath what was underneath the centre console. Look at that. I'll have to clean the rust off the handles and clean it up. Interestingly, there's no rust in the body anywhere that I've been able to find. I'll put extra sound deadening in the roof. That section there above the driver's and passenger seat front is the only bit of insulation in the whole roof. So the whole lot's going to be redone. Sunroof has been repaired with new brackets. It leaks just a little bit, but the pipes are all clear and they're working properly, so there's no water leaking into the car itself. So that'll all get extra sound deadening, especially over there, the back panels. Now the engine. The oil leak turned out the oil seal wasn't in place properly. It actually just lifted out with my fingers, just with my fingernails. Wasn't even seated properly. So the camshaft and front crankshaft seals have been replaced. Components down there have been painted as well to make them look nice and pretty. All new belts. We've got a Pertex heavy duty water pump in there. Gates, belts and seals and tensioner. All the belts are Gates, and these are Australian made pulley. We've got a big circlip in there. I don't know if you can just see that. When the bearing wears, you can undo that circlip, press it out, and then put new bearing in and use the same thing. You know, $10 for a new bearing, maybe 15. Everything else has been given a thorough clean. New cap, rotor, new rotor cap seal, keeps the water and dust out. If you ever get water ingress in there, your seal's stuffed, you really need to put a new one in. So be warned. Cost me $13 for a new proper seal. and when I hosed this engine down I got no water inside the dizzy cap. Did exactly what it needed to do. Yeah, 8 gauge spiral wire Top Gun leads. I don't think I haven't replaced yet is the coil. I might do that at some stage. The pelham chamber has been taken off and dipped. The bypass hoses have been replaced and the back because they were corroded, so I put them in when I put the new water pump in. Inlet manifold has also been cleaned and polished to run better, and the injectors cleaned and new injector seal kit put through. The inlet manifold, injectors and the pelham chamber, when they rebuilt the engine, didn't do it. There was all the old stuff on there, and it certainly runs a bit better, although it is running a little rich at the moment because I've tested my oxygen sensor in the exhaust system and it's not working at all. So I'll put a new one of them in and it should run a lot smoother than it is already. Bit of advice, these two pipes down here, one there and one goes into this other piece where the radiator goes onto, that's been tapped out with a water tapered thread and a hose fitting threaded in there. Turned the barbs off on the lathe and just made them a new one, because you can't buy the little barbs anymore when they rust out. They only press in there. You know, a pair of multi grips and you can pull them out. The thread, the hole size is perfect for the thread, and the tap on that, you don't have to do any additional drilling. You just tap it and then run it in. The bottom piece, I went to buy a new one of those because of without having to worry about doing that barb. $240 from Mitsubishi, or as I've heard it called, Steelabishi. The charge an arm and a leg for it. The other thing was the see just down there, that pulley was also changed. So all new pulleys, all new belts, things painted up where they need to be. Crankshaft pulley Loctited on. There was no damage to the shaft at all. There are now no oil leaks at all. Everything's working perfectly as it should be in the first place. The radiator from when we last looked, that's been repaired. It was just serviceable. At some stage, I don't know if you might have caught it now, the camera will swing around. I have a Series 1 as well, which is going to be my bush basher. Exact same engine. I'll show a bit more detail on that. Had that given to me, but it was a wreck. Had no interior to speak of, so I've basically rebuilt that one up out of spare parts. But I'll talk about that one later. Because eventually I'm rebuilding a new engine, because the Series 1 engine was seized, both being the same engine. I'm rebuilding a brand new engine, and that brand new engine is going to go into the Series 2 with a new radiator. So this radiator and this engine will go into that car. Now, having said that, I actually spoke to the people who built this engine and told me exactly what was done. They still had it on their computers for records. So this engine itself has only done 30,066 kilometres from brand new. That's a rebore and reconditioned heads. Now, in that 30,000, I don't know the life of the vehicle, hence going to that one. I want to rebuild the second engine, then that I'll know the history of that right from the start. It'll be a strong engine with new heads. Be a rebore in the block and crankshaft grind and balance, so I know what's going on there. But I'll be putting brand new heads on them with new valves. Given that they're prone, the original heads are prone to cracking, I'd like to start with new ones and know what I've got. I'll give this thing a kick in the guts and you can have a listen. It's my milk carton. Since no seats, it looks quite funny when you're sitting on a milk carton to drive the vehicle around. Make sure he's out of gear. It's a cold start, look at that. Sweet. Runs a hell of a lot better than it used to, with the injectors cleaned and all the manifold done, given that it was never done. It was actually choking the engine. When I cleaned and polished the ports out, after cleaning before, I actually polished them. My ports were actually 2 mil wider after I'd cleaned them. Now it's a mil of build up on each side on the wall to do that, and that's how much you've choked the engine down. There's a little bit of a tiny miss there, but I'm not worried too much about that until after the oxygen sensor's done, because it is running quite rich. Now when the new radiator goes in with the new engine, I'll be putting the upmarket thermo fan on instead of that viscous coupling fan. Of course, I'll give it a wash under here as well. When I was moving the Series 1 over there, I just used a tyre between the back bumper and this one. The TGM bumpers are pretty good, but I ripped my little rubber buffers off, which I don't mind actually. I'm just going to pull them bolts out of there later and just polish it up, because I figure, well, if I'm going bush and doing a bit of bush bashing and whatnot, and that first thing that's going to go is have that thing pull off. And those lights are going to go too eventually, and they're just on there for looks, because I've got nowhere else to put them. But after she's been registered and put on the road, she'll have a 50mm lift, body lift, so I'll have to lift the bumper bar anyways, and then put a winch bar and set up in there. See what she's idling at. I'll bring her up to temperature and just keep her going. Still haven't fixed the, if you can see that oil pressure, beautiful, it's going well, lots are good. One of the other things I did replace too was the solenoids that weren't working properly. Just in the backyard here, I've reversed her up and did a 3-point turn and that, and everything works perfectly as it should now. It fixed the problem. 145 bucks with postage, which wasn't too bad considering. As you can see, it if I can put it into, there we go. See, it's four-wheel drive. Take it out of four-wheel drive, and she switched off, disengaged. Sweet, doing everything it should be doing. Now I'll let that idle until it warms up. And then I'll take the dash electronics out again and start giving it a thorough clean. I still haven't got around to fixing the steering and the lock on that yet. That's one of the next things I'll do before I get too fussed. Anyway, I think that'll do for now. I'll tell you more about the Series 1 over there. It's cost me 500 bucks so far to get it to where it is. I suppose I've got a little time here. I'll just give you a quick run over. It's all looking good. The carpet and everything, the interior is quite reasonable for its age. Mind you, when I did get it, it was absolutely filthy. It's had a good steam clean, the interior thoroughly steam cleaned. The carpet here was actually mouldy. There's the old heads in there. I was missing the back seats. I got them out of a different model. The back carpet was absolutely trashed. There's not a tear in any of the seats, but I mean, they're slightly different, but they'll do, because having to re-register it as a 5-seater, I had to get a certificate of engineer certificate to go from 7 down to 5. That was going to cost me around $300, but it only cost me 50 bucks for the seats. They're not the best condition, but hey, at least I can register as a 7-seater and then pull them out later and store them. Other bits and pieces like these here were missing. Again, another Rika special. All electrics work, all dash works. Still missing the fuel tank. There's the heads off the old engine, but I'll probably use the rockers and that on the new engine, but I'll put new springs and stuff on them. Apart from that, yeah, windscreen needs replacing. It's a bit rough. was missing the driver's seat, but it does have the suspension seats in there, and getting other seats to fit them isn't a big deal either. The interior come up alright, looks good, due for a bush basher. Stereo's wired in properly. That was the one that was in the Series 2 over there, and usual thing up there. But she's back to basics, raw run of the mill. Everything works. I mean, when I say it cost me $500, I mean that was with the seats and the other bits and pieces, and other rails, and the hand rests were missing. That was the tyres and rims too. I bought them from a guy on Gumtree. That includes like things like paint and window wiper blades and all that sort of thing. It was missing this back panel. I got a bit of 3mm MDF, made that up. I had some 3mm grey felt, so I glued that to it, and well, it's good enough for what we need here. There's that back carpet. Interestingly, it took me half a day to clean it. The guy on the wrecker saw it and he said, "Nah, you can have it." So I said, "Thank you very much." Took it home, spent half a day cleaning it. Still needs a bit of a vacuum after it's dried out, but that'll come good eventually. But it cost me $10 for the underlay. So the back carpet and that cost me $10 to replace it, and all the rest of it's original and cleaned up well. You know, all the bits and pieces are there where they should be. For all intents and purposes, it'd be good. These are new bits for the new engine, new water cover, thermostat cover. Inlet manifold was actually originally off that engine, out of there, but it was a bit dodgy, so I had it machined up. Though I'm a little concerned about that little bit there. I should have fixed that. And it's all been recoiled to make sure it's working properly. But that'll go onto the new engine. You know, and other bits and pieces that I've started cleaning up. You notice I've put the tarp down, and you can see these seats, how good a nick they're in, not a mark on them. Like, you wouldn't believe they were black when I first got them. They come up alright. Of course, they just fold up. I've got to make the bracket up yet, just for them to go up, to hold them up there, out of the way. That's why they're up. And there's a little tear there, but I don't care. Bit of glue, should be right. Eventually they'll probably come out of there anyway. But you know, things like this cover was missing. So I've got that as well. The mirrors were bent up. That's been replaced. I'll pull them off and repair them. You know, things like pedals painted and new rubbers on there. You know, all looking good, as it should. Looking as close to new as you can get, and these were cleaned up and painted as well, and you know, all nicely painted, and they work well. You know, so everything's working well there. Under here, you know, bits and pieces were missing, like the air intake and all that. So I've got all that as well. You know, so not bad for $500 so far, considering. I'll give this engine a good go. Oh, she's warmed up now. Look at that. A little bit of surge there, but I'm not too concerned. It's the throttle cable. That's sticking again, because that there touches on it. See, now she's up to temperature. That's where she's sitting on at the moment with the oil pressure. That's not too bad, considering. I don't trust in that gauge anyway. I'll put new ones in. Go from there. Alright, I'm signing off. And when I got some more info, either on the Series 1 or the Series 2, then I'll let you know.